Okay, I was going to have a bit of a salty rant video today because I've seen one or two things on a couple of YouTube channels in the last week or so that have really made my blood boil over. But I don't really think it's right that we, as YouTube video creators, I don't think it's right that we should actually sort of name and shame people who we think are being daft, or in this case, people who I know are being daft. Because unless you actually tell your viewers where the mistakes are and who's making them, a bit of a salty rant video seems to be somewhat pointless. So, I'm only a small fish in a very, very big pond, and I don't want to go upsetting a load of people. Believe that, and you'll believe anything. Anyway, like I say, I was going to have a salty rant, but I can't be bothered. So what I want to do today is just do a quick video on staying away from Photoshop, working in Lightroom if that's what you fancy doing, and basically keeping things real. On the left, we've got a raw file straight into Lightroom with all Lightroom's contrast increasing crap all over it, and it's of a small skipper butterfly. Now, a small skipper butterfly doesn't look like this. Now, I know some people like to be creative, but when you are, especially as a wildlife photographer, also as an architectural photographer, and as an archival photographer, and also, don't forget, like the great Carl Taylor, yes, there you are, just giving somebody a shout out, a product photographer, you haven't really got any artistic license or any creative license to change the apparent colour of something, and you have to do your level best to be totally faithful to the colour, tonality and contrast of the actual object that you are photographing. And it especially applies to wildlife photography, natural history photography, macro photography in particular, where your images can be utilised by all sorts of publications for field recognition imagery. So, things have got to be right. And in the image on the left, this is what Lightroom makes of this raw file. And it's not right. It's too contrasty. And the colours are wrong, because there is very, very little in nature that is this vivid green, and seeing as I took the photograph, I know what the colour of the background was, and it's very much akin to the background here. So what I'm actually going to do now is show you how I process this image, and it's very, very simple, and we're going to use something that I do use myself quite often, but I don't show many people. Why? It's not because it's a best kept secret or anything. It's just because, what bits do you show people and what bits don't you show people? So anyway, I'm going to show you this bit. So we're going to go reset, and we're going to come back to a standard view. And the first thing I'm going to do is do a straightforward process version swap. You must by now, if you follow my YouTube channel, or you follow my blog, or you're a member of my Patreon page, which you should all be, because I tell it like it is and I show you how to do things properly, but I do need to earn a crust. So go and join my membership site, link in the description below, and at the end of the video, shameless plug over, we'll go and do something about this. So I'm just going to go over here and go to user presets and hit my normal process version swap. So what do I want to do now? I'm just going to double tap on exposure to put the exposure back where it should be, and yes, doesn't that look a lot better? This is pretty much the colour of a small skipper butterfly, and it's also the colour of the grass, and we're nearly there with the background. We've got rid of the contrast, but everything's still a little bit blue and a little bit green, and we could sit here all day wanging this temperature slider around and We might get there, we might not. But if we come down to the calibration panel, and anybody who knows how to do my process version swap already comes down here to do the version swap, or the temporary version swap down to version 2. But we've got these red, green and blue primary channels that we can do something with as well. And you'll notice every time you go in here, all these sliders are set to 0. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to warm the reds up and make them go a little bit more orange, just a little touch, probably 10, and we'll lift their saturation. We'll then just make the greens a little bit warmer, which is where they need to go. They need to be a little bit yellower. So we'll scoot the greens probably over to about -15, -16. That's making them a little bit more yellow. And what we're actually doing is we're changing the bias that Lightroom uses to decode the separate red, green and blue channels of the raw file. It's a lot different than actually working up here in the hue, saturation and luminosity channel, or using the vibrance and saturation sliders in the basics panel. So what I'm now going to do is just up the saturation just a little bit, and then this is the one that will come as a bit of a shocker to you. If we come to the blue channel, because we've got a little bit too much blue, if I shift this over towards this cyan end, which is actually being a bit greener, not by much, just a little bit, and then I take the saturation of it up, yeah, doesn't that look a lot different? Now what we're going to do is go back up to the basics panel, and it's a bit flat, but I don't really want to add contrast. What I want to do is add some clarity, which we'll do, but clarity can have a tendency to darken things down a bit. And we're going to now go and apply what I think has got to be my favourite tool in the latest version of Lightroom. It's the Dehaze slider, and they have completely rejigged the Dehaze slider. And what the Dehaze slider does when you move it negative, and I absolutely love it now by moving it over to a negative value. And you can see how it makes the image go lovely and pastel-y. Yes, and there we go. So if I now go for a left, right, before and after split view, there's our original starting image, and here's the image that we've ended up with. It's really, really simple. And I think we'll just come down into the details panel, and I'm going to, instead of using unsharp mask, I'm going to drop the radius down to 0.5, and we'll take the details slider all the way up to 100%. And so now we're using what you might term single iteration deconvolution sharpening. Yeah, which, if you'd all go and bought my sharpening guide, my very extensive guide to professional image sharpening, which you can buy from the link below over in my digital download site. Big seller for 2018 that's been, and it will continue to be so. Yes, go and buy it. Come on, treat yourself. It's Christmas, of course it is. But what we'll just do is hold down the Alt key, and we'll just put a little bit of masking in there, just to take the effect off some of the finer detail. Now, if you are a member of my Patreon site, and many thanks to you if you are, for your continued support, I will include a link to my Patreon members, where they can actually go and download this raw file for themselves, so they can have a play with it. You can sort of follow along with me, and yeah, there you go. What else can I say? Get some of your own files and start to have a play with these RGB primary decode sliders down here. These are very, very, very powerful tools, and not many people show you how to do this, or even give them even a passing mention on many a YouTube channel. Yeah, you watch. Everybody will be showing you this in about a month's time. Yes, they will. Anyway, there you go. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. And like I say, if you're a member of my Patreon site, go and download the raw file and have a go yourself. So hope that's been useful to you guys, as I said before, and I'll see you in the next one. So, tooroo.